What happens in the sky affects life down here on Earth. The Celestial Compass shows you how and guides your way with astrology you can use from professional astrologer Kathy Beal. Every episode features her light-hearted, practical forecasts and navigational tips, blended with humor, optimism, and a love of patterns, symbolism, and pop culture references. Kathy translates technicalities into concepts that apply to real life. You'll learn how the current moment ties to where we've been, from the recent past to cycles that last happened years ago, and get a look at where we're heading. And much more, from special topics to special guests. The Celestial Compass, enlightening, entertaining, and empowering. Here's your host, Kathy Beal.
Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to Celestial Compass. I'm Kathy Beal of EmpowermentUnlimited.net, and I am welcoming Andrew Brewer, professional intuitive, global futurist, astrologer, past life reader and researcher, and author of 11, maybe more, books. Hey, Andy, thanks for being here.
Hey, Kathy, how are you?
A little crazed. Goes with the astro
it's
weather
crazy
these
time.
days.
It's a crazy time. It'll get crazier, so that's all good. It's good to see you.
We are recording this just before the solstice, which is on the 20th. And all but one of the outer planets have changed signs. The final one happens in July. And that's part of why things are as insane as they are. They're moving collectively in cahoots, I've been saying, into really fiery energy. And we've also just had a recurrence of a very explosive influence that happened last July, when a lot of really pivotal things occurred. So it's an upside down week. It's a turning point week. It's an anything can happen week. Today has been a whirlwind of change in my life, and I am very grateful to Andy for stepping in. There was scheduling confusion with the person who had been sitting on this spot for about 2 months. So I appreciate this greatly.
No worries. It's always good to hang out with you. It's always good.
That's true. Yes, we do that quite a bit.
Quite a bit. It's good.
Well, let's see. Where shall we start? What's going on in your mind right now? I do have one big thing I want to discuss at some point, but let's just start with what's going on in your mind these days. What are you thinking about a lot?
Well, I think a lot about reincarnation, of course, but in terms of global factors, I still think that Trump is on the downslide. You and I have talked about this a long time. I think the factors in contravention where Trump is headed, this weekend, there's like 13 million people for no kings, and there's like 13,000 for his little parade. The tariffs are not working. People are over it. People are long since over it. They're over him. I still maintain, and we've talked about this a lot, I still maintain that he is pushed out, and primarily because of business interests that say, hey, dude, these things aren't working. I expect the economy to spit up a hairball here. And all the things we talked about for the past 7-8 years, I think that Trump is out of sync with the majority of people in the United States. I think a lot of people are going to see that the economics are not helping them. I think farmers are really going to get hammered. I think a lot of people are going to be hammered. Diversity is what makes the United States magical. So if you're going to kind of pick my brain, that's, other than dead people running around in there, that's what's on my mind the most. And I think this weekend was really a pivotal time. I would expect him to, he's kind of a rat in the corner. I would expect him to get more aggressive. I would expect things to get even more complex in the short term. But I think this is a play that cannot last. I do not believe that Trump survives this period intact through 2028. I just don't expect that to happen. So I hope that answers your question, but that's kind of the shorthand of what I've been thinking about, for sure.
Yeah, same here. Although I have a much shorter time frame for falling apart than.
Well, I do too. I expect it. I don't think it's that far off, actually. There are a lot of things at work against him, and he's his health is against him as well. So there's a lot of things I think that are problematic for Trump. He's totally out of sync, in my opinion, with the majority of people. I've been saying this for forever, and so have you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's becoming more obvious. And as a result of that, I'm incredibly optimistic. Not so optimistic for the next couple of months necessarily, but over the next 12 months, yes. And beyond that, yes, I am.
There's a back and forth. Let's try this, let's try that. Chaotic approach to governance of, oh, we're going to do all these horrible things. And oh, wait a minute, the hospitality industry and the farmers and uh, there was one other group laid on a restaurant. Yeah, hospitality. At any rate, there's a whole area of, oh no, we're not going to touch this for immigration that's being carved out, and just changes on a daily basis depending on who's yelling at them, it seems to me.
Well, you can't really have a business model that's totally reactionary. There's no baseline. I mean, you and I have talked about this for years. I've said this out loud a lot. Trump's management style is totally chaotic. He's totally reactive. So there are going to be cost overruns. There's just going to be, it's a hot mess in all directions. So without the narrative that says that Trump has some sort of special 5D chess move in the back pocket, those chess moves aren't there. He's not made a single trade deal that's actually been successful. So his 90 deals in 90 days, he's a few days short and 90 deals short. I had talked a lot about, and it's neon obvious, what this would do to farmers, what this would do to tourism, what this does for the economy in general. We're going to start seeing more and more problems. Supply chain. Angela and I went to the grocery store yesterday. The shelves are starting to thin out. That could be a problem. I mean, it's just chaos. Chaos does not work. It might be entertaining short term, but it cannot work in the long term. And the pushback against Trump, in my opinion, is going to get more and more significant. Therefore, he's going to try harder and harder, but the remedies he has at his disposal are ineffective, and they'll be even less effective short term. So
I see the chaos. I see the chaos intensifying
absolutely.
as Uranus moves into Gemini in early July, and then all of the outer planets are having a yee-haw conversation with each other and everything. It's fruit basket turnover. It's just
You've
differently
got
crazy.
Saturn and Neptune. You're going to have everything from Mars onward. When Uranus gets into Gemini, you're going to have everything in the early degrees. So there are quincunxes, trines, squares all over the place. I think it's going to be very complex for a lot of people within the administration. The things that you've been saying, I'm totally down with what you've been saying about it too, for sure.
Well, it's certainly going to hit the charts of many, many people whose names have been in the news, and I've started seeing an ejector button. So
That's
we'll see
good.
how it plays out. I
Wow.
like the ejector button idea. Now, on a more constructive and positive frame, let me put a little bit of the context here. Jupiter, which amplifies everything it touches, has just started a 12-month tour of the sign of Cancer, which is the US sun. It's also Canada's sun. It's the sun of a lot of people in Congress: Adam Schiff, Elizabeth Warren. We've got that. Venus is in Taurus, which is see me, feel me, let me touch it, taste it, take it to the bank territory. Mars is now in fix it mode. It's in Virgo. All these things are again in cahoots, and I'm seeing this as extraordinarily positive and pushing people toward doing nice things for themselves and cocooning and paying attention to the home front. You've been picking up anything like that?
Well, I mean, I think that people will remember that other people matter. I think that
Mhm.
people will really embrace the idea of compassion, because right now hate is the narrative. Hate is the currency. Cruelty is the psychodrama that MAGA plays on. It's it's Trump's reality TV. I don't think, I mean, I've said this since 2016, that Trump does not match the collective energy of the majority of the United States. So therefore, no matter what he does, it will not last for any significant period of time. All the things that I said, about Trump having problems, the Trump cannot escape what's coming thing, nor should he. I still expect that. I still think that Trump is in difficult territory. But as a collective, I think that people realize that having kindness, that having friends, that being nice to people, that embracing, kind of a neighborly kind of vibe, and not being so afraid of people that don't look exactly like you. I think that is the way the United States operates. I think it will be more and more prominent as a good thing. And I think that his spiel is wearing thin. And the other thing, Trump is just bad at business. He's just bad at business. And his the deregulatory ideas, I understand. I mean, I wrote the disaster recovery plan for Enron. I know that sounds crazy, but that is absolutely true. And was an executive, and you were an attorney. So we've seen things on the other side of psychic world. He's just not good at business, and his methodologies from a process standpoint will not hold up. The tariffs are ridiculous. And the other thing, Kathy, I mean, nobody knows what tariff is where. Like he made a trade deal with China. Okay, well, I haven't seen it. He's doing this. He's going to stop the war in Iran. When? He's going to stop the war in Ukraine. Okay, and he's happy. He's happy that he's buddies with Putin. I mean, he's just out of sync. He's out of sync. I mean, that's my take on it. I mean, I don't mean to be the irony dead horse here, but that's how I see it.
I find it fascinating that now, finally, the talk about something didn't work correctly during the election is getting stronger and stronger and stronger, because the aspects at that time and the aspects that have occurred since then, to me, support undoing this. And it undid an election in Romania. It's undone elections in other countries. And as we get into July, Mercury, which rules communication and information, is going to be traveling over territory that was really active when these particular events occurred, and it's going to go retrograde during that, which is a long-winded way of my saying this conversation is only going to get more heated. And someone is asking, what do you see happening with the voting machine scandals coming to light? I personally see a lot more of them. I see information being dumped by people with firsthand knowledge. I could name a couple. What about you, Andy?
I mean, we talked about this, excuse me, between November and January. The idea that there would be intelligence information that would come to light. We talked about this. And I think that, to me, this is an issue. I believe it's an issue that is going to be more and more in the news. I think there's going to be demonstrable evidence that it's true. It's going to be interesting to see how they really work through this. But do I believe? So I'm going to try to answer your question as succinctly as I can. I believe that, yes,
we got time.
Evidence will come to light that there was something that was not completely legal about what happened. I believe there will be an investigation into this. Of course, it doesn't take a genius to know that there's going to be pushback and all sorts of storylines, and we can't be like the Republicans. Well, yeah, dude, we can be absolutely like the Republicans in the idea that we're going to try to stand up for ourselves, okay? And I just think a lot of big-time careers are going to end. Maybe not this week, maybe not this year, but I think a lot of big-time careers are going to be over, and Trump's one of them. So, and the corruption, the crypto corruption. I mean, having a merch table at Fort Bragg. I mean, seriously. So, I mean, those things are also going to come to light. And so,
Trump.org iPhone, that's the new one.
Yeah, my $499 Trump phone. I just can't wait. That way I can communicate with my friends. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. His economy is a train wreck that is being held together by an incredibly strong economy that cannot fall apart quite this quickly. But on a daily basis, for a majority of people, well, not a majority, for a significant portion of people within the United States, especially people on farms, there are going to be problems. Problems. People that own businesses related to the hospitality industry, hotels, tourist attractions, restaurants, they're going to have issues. That's going to have an impact on commercial mortgages. It's going to have an impact on the banking industry. Um, so I have said, and have been publicizing this for the last few months, I expect him to be pushed out by business interests, Wall Street people who say, we can't sustain this because you're killing the economy. That coupled with the ways in which people see it emotionally, I mean, these are two strikes against him. It won't take much more to, strike him out.
I'm still seeing data coming from either people who were directly involved with it or from overseas. We've been seeing that
For sure.
we saw that for a long, long time, which I suspect will make a lot of this harder to deal with, particularly if someone who made that less than cryptic statement on X during the first lovers' quarrel a few weeks back, pretty much giving numbers and saying, you won because of me. He wasn't just talking about the money.
I
He
don't think it
wasn't.
was strictly just because I invested or I shared your Russian bots and people thought you were winning.
No.
I think it means that there's something more nefarious that happened logistically with the machines, the tabulatory, issues within those machines itself. I mean, the statistics. I mean, you have
Yeah.
districts where Kamala Harris didn't get a single vote. That's not possible. It's just not possible. So.
There was another place I was going to take this. I have been so discombobulated today. Thanks for humoring all this, everyone. Of course, you're eating it up because people just went crazy when they found out you were going to be my guest. Like,
Whole times. I'm a hermit. I'm 70. I'm a hermit now. I don't do much. But for you, I thought, yeah, hell yeah. It's Kathy.
I do appreciate that. So this is where I want to redirect things. One topic that you have been very vocal about is what's happened in the spiritual community. And I saw last week's Sagittarius full moon as the political is personal. It's inescapable. Did I want to live and breathe politics? No,
No.
but that's what
No.
I've been doing because it is fundamental to existence at this point. So you have made a number of very strong statements about this.
It's a lot of character for me, isn't it? Yeah.
So just take it. If you don't say what I'm hinting at, then I'll
Well,
lead
I'm
you
going
to
to
it.
say what you're hinting at.
Have at it.
I've said for a long time that the love and light community, of which you and I are semi-prominent members, has sold us out. And the linkage of QAnon and all these things together to reframe the ways in which we see politics, to put spins on it that I don't think should be spun. I, was a very early sort of an anti-QAnon. I call it a QAnon. Got all these death threats and all this stuff in 2017 on. I think it's important that people, I think you and I and all the people that do what we do have a responsibility, an ethical responsibility, not to get caught up in mythology and hyping things that the causality doesn't make any sense. So simplistically, I have said basically that those people within the wellness community who are promoting things like Trump is here to bring the light and all that, I think they're complicit in this, and I think that that's not a good thing. I hope that is where you wanted to go with it. And I also say that spirituality and politics are exactly the same thing.
That was it.
Exactly. So my politics says people should be treated with dignity. You should tell the truth. You should try to be nice to people. You should not be, I am a famous psychic, so therefore. No, dude, it has nothing to do with it. We all have magical components within us. We all deserve the same chance at happiness, love. So yeah, politics and spirituality are integral. They are connected. So I don't see any difference between the two of them. I annoy a lot of people. I guess this is not news for those who followed what I do, but I think it's important that you've gone through this. I've certainly gone through this. The idea that, oh, I love what you write if you just wouldn't talk about politics. Well, politics is important. And understanding how it impacts the day-to-day lives of individuals, the day-to-day lives of people within the LGBTQIA plus community, how it impacts women. What we do to women is outrageous. It is outrageous. What we do to people of color is outrageous. And so I can't turn a blind eye to that. So that's, yeah, politics and spirituality to me are synonymous. They're the exact same thing. A respect for the earth is part of that political, vision for myself. And I also think that the people who are, Trump is here to bring us to Jesus. I think you all got some explaining to do to me. You got me started, Kathy. What can you do? Oh my God.
That's what I wanted. Well, so I have two directions to take this. So let's get the quick one out of the way. The quick one out of the way is that I'm not siding with them, but I do see that Trump has served a purpose. He has united so much of the rest of the world. So much of the rest of the world. The United States has taken a massive hit while other countries have found themselves, have found their own power, have come out from under the the oppressive wings of the American eagle, and Europe is banding together. Canada is unified in a way that I'm told is not like it has been. So perhaps now we get to experience this ourselves as well. But so I grudgingly admit that there's some good to it, but I do not think that this is some golden calf child of God that we should bow down to at all. The deification really, really disturbs me. And I see that in the spiritual community. There are certain people I've had to just block from my feed
For
because
sure.
they spout this kind of stuff, and if they're spouting things that are actually actively bringing pain and suffering and endangering the lives of other people. I come from a scientific background. All of this anti-health nonsense really, really infuriates me. Because it seems like they want. So anyway, how somebody all love and light can see this as not look at this and go, how do we decrease the suffering here instead of deifying the very vehicles of the suffering. So that's
Yeah.
thing one.
Yeah. And I take a slightly different, take on that is I don't think that we needed to beat the child to make them have an epiphany. I don't think that we needed to be oppressors in order to help Europe by default band together. I think that we could have done this in a much friendlier, more inclusive kind of way. There are a lot of things that we could do and hopefully will do in the future that would be more inclusive, more open to diversity, more open to love. People talk about love and light, but there's not a lot of love in this. And I think
No.
that it's critical for you and I to do our jobs, that we really come from a state of compassion at all times. I used to be, back in the 90s, I was on TV as on a psychic infomercial. And the people that worked those lines were very judgmental. You and I see a lot of judgmental people in the love and light community. And you just cannot come from that place. I mean, I've been a hot mess in so many ways, and I'm 70 and still kind of a hot mess. And I think it's important that we embrace the idea that people go through stuff. They wouldn't come to you and me if they weren't going through stuff, most likely. And for us to look down on them, I look at all of these spiritual orientations that have a right-wing leaning, and that includes QAnon, it includes a lot of things, as a form of elitism. And I'm very much against elitism. I'm very much against, I'm better than you, or this person's better than another person. I think we all have, like, I'm good at one thing and maybe not so good at something else. So for that one thing, yes, I take some credit for it, but that doesn't make me better. And I think we need to be mindful of that. And that's one of the things that you and I both, and I appreciate you doing this too. We've talked about this, but I do, and I want to say this again out loud, I do appreciate the fact there's a risk associated. There's a fight. I mean, I was the man of the year, the Lightworker of the year in 2016, and my career just fell off the earth because I was against QAnon. But there's a cost associated with speaking out. There's also a cost, an emotional cost, with living in a cave. I refused to do that. I didn't want to have to look back. And you and I've had this conversation too. Look back one day and go, oh, I supported, this oppressive thing. No, I was willing to take some heat, and you too. And I always appreciate you for that. So yes.
Well, thank you very, very much. There was a time if I put anything the slightest bit political in my newsletters, it was guaranteed. Whoop, people are dropping like flies, dropping. And starting last fall, when you and I and Louise started doing our political videos, trying to make sense of what was going on and explain things to people, my numbers skyrocketed. So it's become imperative. I cannot be quiet. I cannot be quiet. It is what I am supposed to do. And I'm not sure I could live with myself if I were quiet about all this at all, actually.
It's easier just to turn a blind eye and not be bothered. It would be easier to be neutral. You and I have both been in places of some level of prominence. We know how to play this game. And for us to take these positions has come with a cost. But I think the important thing here is that you look at how you really fit into the broader world. If we care about people, if we're doing this job for the right reasons, because we truly want to help people, then we can't just selectively pick which ones are worth helping.
That's very true.
That's where I have issues. So,
and this is where I have to dive in and take a break. Hang on, people. We've got a lot more to talk about. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Om Times TV.
Want help with your own celestial compass? Visit my site, empowermentunlimited.net, for Astro Insight forecasts for each week, month, and new and full moon. Want to explore the personal impact? Make a decision? Understand another person? It is possible. Click the Services tab to book a personal session with me. That address again? empowermentunlimited.net.
Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If if we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes, walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back to Celestial Compass. I'm talking today with Andrew Bassano Brewer. And right before the break, we were talking about the overlap of spirituality and politics, as in basically they are the same thing. And where I wanted to take this is that statement is an embodiment of Saturn and Neptune in Aries. We have not experienced Neptune and Aries in our lifetimes. We last experienced Saturn and Aries in 96 to 99. So pretty much everybody who's listening, I think, is old enough that they went through that. And that can be bringing ideology down into the physical plane, bringing structure to it. And it's also like taking dominion over your own spiritual guidance, in my thinking. So if you thought, I bet you haven't thought about it in those terms.
Well, it was also, that period was the .com period. And so that was definitely a change. I was a .com baby and part of that. I think it'll be really interesting with Saturn and Neptune, both in Aries, with Mars moving into Virgo. So how does that impact the ways in which we talk? How does that impact the ways in which we communicate? I would expect there to be some changes, some very assertive changes, some people on a collective level saying, we don't want to communicate this way anymore. We don't want to present ourselves a certain way anymore. There could be a lot of rebranding, a lot of changes. There could be a lot of fashion changes. There could be a whole lot of stuff that happens. So by looking at, we've got all these things. We've got Jupiter in Cancer. So Jupiter's trying to be, come on in, let's all love each other. And then you've got all these aggro kinds of things with all these planets, being so early in their signs. I think that the potential for rapid, significant, sort of shocking changes, I think, is there. And it would not surprise me that there are a lot of changes internally within the United States. What did I say?
My connection was lost. I don't know. Thank you. Out. Of course that would happen. I suspect that once.
So there's a change in communication. Oh my God, I'm psychic. Oh, no. I think that those planets combined in Aries, two planets we don't necessarily think of as working hand in hand, Saturn and Neptune, and being in a sign ruled by Mars, and Mars being a sign short term that relates to communication and Mercury. I just think there could be a lot of intensity around messaging. Trump is definitely going to try to control the airwaves, and he's failing. He's failing, and his ability to do that, in my opinion, will get less and less. And when that happens, he's going to get more and more crazy and more desperate. So that could also add to the Aryan kind of quality of Saturn and Neptune combined. Rapid changes, crazy changes. Dad's going to take you behind the woodshed kind of changes. But
I did some really, really extensive research on what happened the last time various of the current planets were where they are now, and there are themes of realignment of power and information to the unrepresented or the underrepresented. We've got, this is Magna Carta territory. I like that one. And it also, Louise Ennington told me this date, Saturn and Neptune were together in like 490 something BCE, way early, when Solon was elected in Athens, and he created a council of citizens to start running things rather than having a king. So I can see this, and this particular what's going on now also has a lot to do with Russian history, which I think is gonna be fascinating to watch. Russian history, Russian Revolution, Stalin's death, Putin's birth, the fall of the Berlin Wall and the dissolution of the Soviet Union. All of this is part of it. So that's one other big piece going on. Genghis Khan even figures into this. So gonna be utterly, utterly fascinating, but there's a potential because a lot of people have been beaten that, oh my God, authoritarianism. Saturn and Neptune together does not.
I think that
I
blows up
expect this.
authoritarianism. I think it is a push. I think it is the Bastille Day part of authoritarianism. I think it is a push back against it. Trump needs the military in order to do his bidding. It didn't seem to me like the Army was
No, I
all that
don't think
happy to
so.
be there on Saturday. So if there is a push relative to authoritarian movements, and when the Tsar, that was the Russian Revolution 1917, for all of you, Stalin died in 53, wall came down in 1989. I still think Putin is trying to recreate the Soviet Union, the Eastern Bloc. He thinks Ukraine is still part of the Soviet Union. But I believe that people are more likely to push back rather than embrace authoritarian movements. And so I think that it's a collision, but I think the collision, just like what we saw Saturday, 13 million people taken to the streets. We didn't because there wasn't anything around us. I'm back in Indianapolis. We could have done it if we were here. There's going to be more people when they see that that's what's going on. There may be 27 million next time. At some point, the mathematics are going to be so overwhelming. There was the problem, of course, going back to Russia, is that when the Russian Revolution, what came in its place was also kind of complicated after Lenin when you had Stalin. And Stalinism was probably not a good time. I've compared Trump to Stalin in terms of methodologies. And I just don't see the conditions that were there for Hitler to take power or for Stalin and Lenin to take power are not what's going on here in the United States. That's why I think that no matter how much technology is available, how many Fox News hosts there are, I just don't think that the conditions are supportive of what we saw in the 30s with Hitler, or in the 20s, 30s, 40s, etc., with Stalin. So I don't think it. I've said it. I predicted it in 1987, and I've always said that Hitler 2.0 does not last. It fails in the United States. So we'll see. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
Seeing it. Well,
And I
and
hope I'm
both of
right.
us have a more than decent track record of accuracy.
I think
And
so. I
we
think so.
both really, really like to be right.
I do. I hate it for myself, but yes, I do like to be right. And you and I are also kind of unique in that we will point out where we were wrong. I don't get a note from Jesus. I don't have a notarized letter from Nostradamus. I don't get a spiritual download from Pleiades. I do a lot of it through, some sort of intuitive thing, but a part of it is also intellectual. So I think there's a confluence between the intellect and the intuitive. You and I both have that. I guess it's the Aquarians Leo moon thing we have. I just don't believe that it gets as bad as human nature would lead us to fear. And what I've tried to say to everybody is do not allow yourselves to be fearful. Fear. He's pushing fear. Hitler pushed fear through various means. And if you can stay calm and support each other, you can get through the first waves of fear. The mechanics of what he's trying to achieve are not working, in my opinion. And if you can stay calm, supportive, find a place of love, place of spiritual harmony within yourselves, you're going to be okay. So that's my speech there. And as far as being right, I'm right a lot, and I'm usually right way in advance, but I'm not right. I'm not 98% my favorite. Oh my God, Kathy, my favorite thing ever in metaphysics was I said, there's no psychics 98% accurate. There's probably no psychics 88% accurate, which didn't go over well because I had a bunch of psychics on my Facebook. And this woman said, well, if it was just me, sure, I could make a mistake, but I get my information directly from spirit. And spirit is always 100% accurate. So therefore, I'm 100% accurate. I'm like, oh my God. Well, it explains it. I'm just not connected to spirit. But it is my...
I've been told that, and I go, don't you think maybe the channel's clogged? I mean,
maybe the antenna's off, or it's a windy day, but yeah, that's my favorite. I mean, I've heard some things, but that is my favorite thing in all the years I've done this, all the bazillion years I've done this. So yeah, so I guess I'm just not connected to spirit, but it's not, none of us know the absolute answer. We all come at it from different perspectives. I'm very good at understanding emotions. I'm not so good at timing. You're better at timing. So we have different skill sets, and but bottom line, I'm more of an emotional kind of reader, and then I kind of feel the emotions, see the emotions, and I try to come up with it. Like I predicted the housing crash because I felt people were going to be sad about their houses. I just don't feel that the pervasive emotional space of the United States is an authoritarian white boy Klan rally. I just don't think that's what we are. And I persist in saying that that's not what we're going to be. And I also persist in trying to present myself in a way that I'm in opposition, and I'm willing to take a certain amount of heat for that. And that's also why I don't do as many things as I used to either, because I'm sort of tired of taking heat all the time.
Well, that makes sense. Well, if people want to, some evidence of what Andy's talking about is all over little videos that you can find on Instagram and all kinds of places of middle-aged women walking up to ice ages.
God bless them. God bless them.
Middle-aged, normal-looking women who look like they shop at Target or Walmart, just walking up like, nope, don't do this. You're not taking my neighbors. You're not doing this. Middle-aged white women.
I've walked up to people, especially during the Trayvon Martin period, and I've walked up to and said, dude, we don't talk that way, which kind of confuses them. I got into a thing the other day with some guy here in Ohio had a Confederate flag. I go, son, no. Women save us. Women are critical. We need to pay more attention to women. Women are jerked around. The whole theory of making women subservient so they can't vote, they can't have a credit card, Jesus wants you to submit, all that's hogwash. That's a narrative that is created by men because they fear women. Women will save us. And so all the women that walk up to ICE agents and go, dude, does your wife love you? That was priceless. That thing where the Proud Boys in Atlanta. It's important as a 70-year-old white boy that I try to support women and people of color, and we all do that. But yes, women standing up is going to make the difference. They're the tipping point. I believe I've always said that, and I persist in that. And thank God for them, for sure.
And the expansion of women's rights is one of the themes of the astrological aspects that we've got from their earlier points.
That would be fantastic. We need that.
So, yeah, if people out there haven't learned about the council that was at Seneca Falls in 1848, I encourage you to look into that, because they were working off indigenous tribal methods of governance, which is a council and a matriarchal council largely.
And what we do to indigenous people, just let me say this real quickly, is one of the greatest crimes this country has ever committed. And we got a long list, But what we have done to indigenous people who tried to be nothing but nice to us, to the white people that came here, we got a lot of explaining for that. And I think it's important. And I'm going to say that I think we will at some point try to make amends. But yeah, what we've done to tribal people in this country is absurd. It's terrible. It has to change.
Well, all of this is coming up. You name it. There is a huge wound in our country from the very, very start about people with money and what they did to the people that they had working for them, and subjugation being an ongoing issue. And who knows what deals were made to get the southern colonies to be part of the states, but that's an ongoing issue. And then we get to the days after the Civil War when the moneyed people managed to convince the poor whites to be afraid of the freed slaves, when really those two were economically aligned. But that wedge was put in there that just gets fueled and fueled and fueled. So, point of this being not, oh, we're a couple of liberals sitting here being holier than thou, but a recognition of there being some fundamental problems in the foundation of this country that are screaming to be addressed. And everything being blown open weirdly creates some opportunities to do that.
Well, part of the narrative, I'll try to say this real quickly, part of the narrative that Trump has pushed is that that people of color are problems for just Southern white boys. You know, I mean, I'm using this as euphemism. And I come from a Southern family of very racist people, slave owners. This is my family tree. But what's happening is that this group, by voting against their own self-interest and not really recognizing that they were being sold a bill of goods that did not serve them, are likely to see in a very graphic way that what they hitch their star to, that wagon, is not going to help them. And I think that the pushback, especially in agriculture, farmers are going to lose their farms like wild. I think that they will start to say, maybe we made a mistake. Maybe we made a mistake. Christianity has been usurped as a political hammer. That needs to end. There's a lot of things that I think should change. And yes, am I a liberal dude? Yes, but I was also a corporate executive, and you were an attorney. And so we try to be in a more, you know, I try to be rational in my approach, even though I say crazy things and talk to unicorns and all the rest of it. But it's important that we embrace logic, I think, but it's also important that we embrace love. That's my speech. Hi. So that's where I'm at. Are you shocked? I know you're like, oh my God, Andy, Jesus. But yeah.
No, I'm not having that reaction. The slightest, not at all. So in our remaining time, what do people do while we're watching this all unravel? I've certainly been prescribing all kinds of approaches and activities, but what do you say?
You have to do something where you stay calm as much as possible, whatever that is. You also have to reach out to other people and help them stay calm. You also have to reach out and come from a place of love and show that. I make a point of trying everybody I see, if they're not lily white, to try to really engage with them. Maybe that helps, me it doesn't, I don't know. I think it's important that we are nice to the people around us. I also think it's important that we stand up when we see oppression. I will walk up to people, and I'm a 70-year-old man, probably not smart anymore, and say, this is not acceptable. And usually they'll just shut up and like they're confused. And women walking up to ICE agents and go, this is not the way it's going to be. If enough of them do that, they'll eventually give up. It's like the Tiananmen Square kind of vibe. You know, you stand in front of the tank, it's going to make a difference. So that's my answer.
A person or two might get run over.
But you might also stop the tanks, and you might change the world.
Yeah, I think simple acts are the way to go. It's way too overwhelming to think of, I can't change anything. Well, you can write to CNN and say, stop using the word riot to describe people in the streets with signs. You can you can check on people, check on people that make sure people are okay. And you could definitely listen to your own body and spirit when you get overwhelmed, when it's too much. Unplug, go away. The world isn't going to stop just because you're not in the middle of it. Go have a snack, do something nice, sit with your dog, watch the sunshine, watch a funny movie. And this sounds stupid, but you got to do things to recharge and to take tiny, tiny nurturing steps. You've got an inner kid inside of you who may be freaking out. And the Cancer new moon on the 25th is a really good time to make a new relationship with that little critter.
And I always say that meditation, you don't have to sit in the corner and, say, oh, anything you do where you take your mind off the electric bill or your problems, whether that's gardening, watching SpongeBob, dancing, playing tennis, whatever that is. If you're really in the moment and you're doing those things that bring you joy, then you're in a meditative state. The more you bring joy to yourself, the more likely you are people see that old dude's kind of fun. The more you can do that. I think happiness is contagious, just like hate is contagious. So what I want to do is kind of be an antidote to hate, and I want to try to come from a happy space. And I also want to use my voice and sort of my personality as my little midget, my little small pushback against oppressors. If we do that collectively, then they fail. And I predict that they will fail ultimately. But I also think they'll get crazier short term.
Unfortunately, I suspect you're right. And when they do that, know that means, I think that's a tell, okay? When the behavior gets more outrageous and more out of hand, like, okay, what do they know is coming? What is going on that we don't know yet that they're getting out ahead of? And one thing I've been saying consistently since last fall is gravitate to the world you want to be in. I have a couple of little groups of friends that do completely frivolous and ridiculous things, and we obliterate the world with it. And it's really recharging and rejuvenating. And I was at an event. I was at a witches' night market called Lunar Fair. People hear me talk about this a lot. Friday night, and I looked around. It was Pride, so we actually had a rainbow with people
That's
arranged
awesome.
by color for part of it. But there was a beautiful young woman walking around with a giant furry fox head on. I don't know what that was. It didn't matter. There are people who just wear whatever they feel like. And again, lots of furries. I don't quite get it. A lot of wizards, but they're not hurting anybody. Little kids running up to give the drag queens money. It's just I don't know. There's something about everyone just being their own weird little freaky self and nobody interfering with anybody, and laughter and joy. And I was crying again and again and again.
Isn't
So
it
you find
better to have a happy space than to be uptight and aggro 24/7? Yes, it's
Oh
better to
God.
be in a happy space. It's better to have a festival, play music and hang out with people and play with the cat. I mean, it's better to do that. And I don't see the reason we have to be so uptight all the damn time. Chill out. That's my speech. Chill out.
So
Unicorns.
please tell people where they can find you online. There are a couple of places.
I've actually moved to Substack now at Karmic Outlaw, KARMICOUTLAW. I wrote a book called Karmic Outlaw a few years ago, so that's my Substack. I'm still on Facebook, Andrew.Brewer. My website is andrew-brewer.com. And I don't do a lot of public predictions on Facebook anymore. I moved them over to Substack, and I'm still doing things. And I do a lot of stuff with past lives and my past life matching. A lot of that's on Substack too, Karmic Outlaw. So, and it's always good to hang out with you.
Well, I appreciate this greatly. And every once in a while, you'll actually do sessions with people.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I need to do sessions, or I need to pay the utility bill. I'm still working. I'm absolutely still working. Sometimes I go through periods where I quit because I'm old and cantankerous. I don't want to be, I kind of go through periods where I'm not doing much, but I'm absolutely, full workload, happy to do them. So thank you.
You're very welcome. And thank you. I'm so glad you picked your phone up this morning. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Always a blast talking with you and seeing where it's going to go.
You too.
Even though we've talked about a bunch of these topics before, it's always great. So hang in there, everybody. My forecasts are at Om Times. My new moon, full moon, and monthly forecasts are there. They're also at empowermentunlimited.net and at the Professional Aquarian YouTube channel, which this week has a terrific number of political astrology collaborations. So be sure to check that. And I have a Patreon that has patreon.com/Kathy Beal that has sassy daily forecasts in addition to looking at the solstice
Yep,
chart.
that's you. Sassy Daily. I love that. I think
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yep. So we're keeping on. I hope everybody is safe. Do something to celebrate the solstice. Do something nice for your inner kid. And if it involves ice cream or jelly donuts, oh well. Thanks a lot, Andy. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kathy. Everybody have a good week. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Don't give
We're gonna
up.
win, baby. We're gonna win.
Bye,
It's all
everyone.
good. Bye.